All right, let's look at the last few approaches associated with Unit 3. So the first one we look at is the present value of goals approach. This is almost a needs analysis, right? If you think about how do we determine how much a client needs for retirement? How do we determine how much a client needs in life insurance or how much they need to fund an education goal? We're taking a present value approach to understanding what the total amount required to fund those goals would be, and then saying, all right, well, what do we have available to fund those goals? And if we don't have enough currently available to fund those goals, then what is the remaining requirement to hit our target, right? And so in that case, any shortfall that we had in the current period to fully funding the goal, we would say that's an obligation. And we would figure out what the cost of that obligation was, and we would consider alternatives for funding that obligation to get our resources up to the level that we needed to fully fund the cost of the goals, right? So this is an interesting approach just for understanding like what is the total cost of goals, how much do we currently have to cover that cost, what do we need, and how do we get there? So this is a nice macro approach to looking at where we stand. Now, a different approach that we might look at is a strategic approach, right? And in a strategic approach, we're focusing on needs more than wants, right? And so we're prioritizing things in that order, right? We got to fund our needs-based goals before we can fund our wants-based goals, right? So oftentimes, when working with clients using the strategic approach, we'll have the clients come up with a mission statement, right? What drives your action? What's motivating you um, at a big picture level to accomplish your financial objectives, right? And then we can say, all right, if that's what's motivating you, then what needs to be done, and what would be the wants that would be the cherry on top at the end of the day. And so this is a nice approach for really putting things in that type of order. Now, oftentimes when we're looking at the strategic approach, we'll use this in conjunction with other approaches, right? Because we need to fully understand how achievable and realistic it is to meet all goals, whether they be needs or wants, according to the timeline and the budget in play. And so we'll really help shape our recommendations by first prioritizing using the strategic approach, analyzing the achievable and realistic nature of the goals in play, and then coming up with a good plan for making progress. Needs first, wants second. Regardless of the approach that we use, and different goals might call for different approaches, different clients might call for different approaches, right? We always want to make sure that we are analyzing the risk and the sensitivity of the alternatives that we're looking at, right? We want to make sure that if something comes along, the plan that we put into place can withstand hiccups, right? Because without fail, something unexpected will happen on a client's journey to reaching their goals. And so we just want to be thoughtful of what our risks are, and we want to be thoughtful about how sensitive our recommendations are to those risks. And we want to build a well-insulated plan that helps the client at the end of the day. All right, that wraps up our approaches to financial planning and financial statement analysis. That also concludes Unit 3. So you'll get a chance to apply this in your case study project, and I look forward to seeing how you use these tools as you continue in this class and throughout the program.